Om Shanti. Good morning once again to everyone. Welcome to this very special session on Murli ki Kahani, the story of the Murli. Murli is the sustenance for Brahmins. It's the Murli that has given us the life. And so today I am very happy to welcome, first of all, Raju Bai, who is sitting in the middle, originally from Madhuban. So welcome, Raju Bai. He is responsible for sending us the Murlis from Madhuban to London. And then we welcome Jesuben, who translates the Murlis for us in English that goes to the whole world. And we have Brother Matthew here, who is going to interview them to take out the maximum treasures they have within themselves. And so please welcome all three of them once again with a big clap. Its translator has to go. The Spanish translator has to go to translate, okay? Yeah. Somebody has to go. English, she's going. Sister is going. Sister Charumaru is going there. Yeah.
Well, I've now been handed Raju Bai's biodata, but it might be actually nice to hear from Raju Bai himself how he came to Baba. Would you like to share that with us, Raju Bai? How you came to Baba?
Personally, आप सुनाओ तो अच्छा है.
अच्छा. ओम शांति. हम प्यारे बाबा की मुरली से सदा ही खेलते रहते हैं और आप सभी बाबा की मुरली से बहुत प्यार करते हो.
And you all also have great love for Baba's Murli.
मुरली से प्यार माना मुरलीधर से.
Baba says that if you have love for the Murli, then you have the one for the one who speaks Murli.
मधुबन में 1976 में प्राप्त हुआ.
In 1976, I got this fortune in Madhuban of playing with Baba's Murli.
मेरा लौकिक जन्म.
In the drama, my Lokik birth.
बहुत छोटी उम्र में ही मैं बाबा के ज्ञान में आया.
And
4 साल की उम्र में.
at the age of 4, I came into Baba's knowledge.
पिताजी
My Lokik father,
जिनका डायरेक्ट मम्मा के द्वारा जन्म हुआ.
who got this Alokik birth through direct Mama in 1960, the Lokik father.
लौकिक गांव में गई थी.
Mama had gone into our Lokik village,
गीता पाठशाला खोली थी.
and over there a Gita Pathshala had been opened.
पाठशाला खोल करके दी थी.
The Gita Pathshala was opened and given to my father for running it.
मैं लौकिक पढ़ाई.
Up until the age of 15 years, I used to do my Lokik studies,
स्नेह में परिवार के बीच में रहता था.
and I was staying at home within the family and sustained by the love of the family.
7 साल की उम्र में मधुबन आ गई थी.
My Lokik sister at the age of 7 had come to Madhuban.
बाबा के साथ यज्ञ की सेवा में थी.
Since then, she was with Baba in the service of the Yajna.
घर गई. 15 साल की मेरी उस समय उम्र थी.
When she went from the Lokik home, at that time my age was 15 years, she came to Madhuban with me in 1971.
71 में जब मैं पहली बार मधुबन आया.
When I first time came to Madhuban in 71,
देखकर परिवार देखकर
seeing Baba's home, seeing the family,
दुनिया भूल गई.
I forgot the world.
और ये लगने लगा कि अब तो मुझे यही रहना है.
And then I felt that I should stay here only.
तो मैंने दादी जी के सामने अपनी एप्लीकेशन रखी
So I put my application in front of
दादी जी ने
Dadiji,
कहा कि तुम्हारी एज बहुत छोटी
and
है
Dadiji said, "You are very young in age.
18 साल की उम्र में
At the age of 18,
छुट्टी देते हैं
we give permission to stay in the
मैंने
yajna."
कहा दादी मुझे तो अभी यहीं रहना है
But I said, "Dadiji, I just want to stay here now."
पिताजी से हमने छुट्टी ली थी
I had taken leave for permission from my Lokik father, but Dadiji said, "No,
छुट्टी लेकर के
but you get the permission from your father in writing."
परिवार के अंदर मैं अकेला था
Because in the Lokik family, I was the only
तीन
son.
भाई थे और तीन भाइयों के बीच में
My father and two of his brothers, there were three of them, and amongst them, I was the only son of the three uncles and brothers.
बहुत सारा हिसाब
And because of that, the entire property of the Lokik, all the accounts of the family, there was quite a lot. And that is why Dadiji said, "Go back and get the permission in writing, then you can come back after 1 year." So in 71, I went back,
साल पढ़ाई किया
had a further study of 1 year.
लेकर के लिखत
Then I got my father's permission in writing.
मधुबन आ गया
I came back to Madhuban in the April of 72.
अपनी इच्छा रखी
And after coming to Madhuban,
छोटे से
I
गांव से
put
आया
my wish in front of Dadiji,
और
because I had come from a very small village and I had only very little education.
पूरी हिंदी भाषा चलती है यूपी क्षेत्र में उत्तर प्रदेश में
In UP, one of the states of India, I had come from that state,
को कहा
and there was
कि दादाजी मुझे
the language
सीखनी है
that I had learned was Hindi. So at that time I said to Dadiji, I want to learn typing. So she said that, "What will you do after learning to type?" So I said that I will write Baba's Murlis.
थोड़ी मूल्य
And at that time there was only one typewriter in Madhuban, and very few Murlis were printed, and the 200 Murlis were printed through litho, the manual printer.
टाइप सीखो भले लेकिन टाइप के साथ साथ तुम्हें सिंधी जरूर
So Dadi said that, "Okay, you can learn typing, but at the same time you will have to learn Sindhi as well."
बिल्कुल यूपी का हिंदी वाला और सिंधी कैसे सीखूं
So I said, "I am from UP, speaking Hindi.
तलब करो
How will I learn Sindhi?" So he said, "You will learn. You just have that thought and Baba will teach you."
उठाया
So I was made to sit with Dada Vishwaratan.
पहले सिंधी के अक्षर सीखे
So first I learned to recognize the Sindhi letters,
15
alphabet.
में सिंधी पढ़ना सीख गया
And in 15 days I learned to read Sindhi.
सिंधी लिपि जैसे
It's the writing of,
लिखते हैं लेकिन वो अक्षर सिंधी के होते हैं
it's like written in Hindi, but the words are in Sindhi. So that I learned. So after learning Sindhi language, I learned to type Hindi in Madhuban. After 6 months,
साथ मुझे सेवा करने का चांस
I got the chance to serve Badi Didi, Manmohini.
मधुबन में ही मुख्य प्रशासिका के रूप में पहले थी
She was in Madhuban as the main administrator with Dadiji in Madhuban.
दीदी बहुत अच्छी मुरली से प्रश्न उत्तर निकालती
Didi used to take out very good questions from the Murli.
एक विशेषता थी
That was a big speciality of Didi.
और
That Dadi used to read the Murli, and Didi, sitting in front, would write very good questions from the Murli.
क्लास फेल हो जाए
And she used to write the questions in such a way that the whole class would fail.
मेडिटेशन हॉल नहीं था उस समय छोटा हॉल था
At that time, there was the only history hall, not the meditation hall,
मधुबन में
and the only history hall.
उस हिस्ट्री हॉल में सबसे आगे दीदी नंबर 1 स्टूडेंट बैठती थी
So in that history hall,
एक भी सोफा
on the floor, there were no sofas. On the floor, Didi used to sit number 1.
अच्छे अच्छे प्रश्न लिख करके बाद में सभी पूरे क्लास को फेल करती थी
Then she would write such good questions, and after the Murli, she would fail the whole class, because she said, if anybody gives answer to these questions, they will get double tuli. And she was very entertaining, and in very entertaining way, she would ask questions, create questions. So with this Didi, I got the chance to serve. Now Didi said that you have learned to type Hindi, you have learned Sindhi. Now whatever the questions I write, you take these questions, and whichever one you like best, print them out, type them out, and bring them back to me. At that time, there used to be carbon copies. We used to make carbon copies. So at that time, we used to send question answers to all the centers. So Didi used to write the questions, and I would take out as many number of copies which we need to take out through the carbon copies through typing.
प्रश्नोत्तर और दूसरी साइड में हाथ से लिख करके दीदी के साथ
So on one side there will be question answers, and on the other side Didi will write with her hand a letter.
करता था पहले मुरली
In 76,
अचानक लौकिक में चला गया
the brother who used to type the Murlis, all of a sudden he had to go back to the Lokik.
सारी ड्यूटी सारी डिपार्टमेंट
So the whole Murli department, the dadis handed it over to me.
टाइप भी सीख
That you know Sindhi, you know how to type, now you look after this department, because the brother who was managing it had to go.
हाथ में ली
So since 76 I have taken the Murlis in my hand.
पहले वो रिवाइज हो चुकी थी क्योंकि
They had been revised 5-6 years ago.
76 में बाबा ने जब मुरलियाँ रिवाइज हुई एक बार
In 76, the Murlis, in 76, once the Murlis had been revised once, from 69 onwards, then Baba gave advice to revise them again.
69 18 तक की मुरलियाँ हमारे पास रिवाइज की गई
So we revised the Murlis up until 69, 1869,
64 तक बाबा के ज्ञान में कुछ
18th of January 69.
शास्त्रों के आधार से बाबा एक बहुत बेसिक ज्ञान देते थे
On the basis of scriptures, Baba used to give some real basic knowledge.
को पूरा रिफाइन नहीं किया था
And there were some points in the Murlis which were not totally refined.
समय की आत्मा अंगुष्ठ
For example, Baba used to say at that time that
ज्योतिर्लिंगम का ज्ञान था
the soul is like the shape of a thumb, or it is like a lingam of light.
स्पष्ट किया
Then slowly these were revised, and Baba clarified it that the soul is a point of light, and Baba's form is also a point of light.
स्पष्ट करते करते
The ling form was clarified further and further until Baba brought everyone to the point that soul is a point of light. So Baba said that,
मुरलियाँ भी शास्त्रों के आधार से थी इसलिए इसको
Baba says the original old Murlis, which were based on the scriptures, the knowledge in that is based on scriptures knowledge. So destroy them, burn them. Now the knowledge is refined, you keep that with you.
बाबा आगे का
And then
करता जाएगा
on the basis of this knowledge, Baba will clarify it further and further.
मुरलियाँ चली मुझे याद है
So in 63 there were such Murlis. I remember
कई
that
बोरियाँ बहुत अच्छे स्टॉक भर करके मुरलियों के रखे थे
in my Lokik home, my father had kept bags and bags of Murlis, you know,
कई मुरलियाँ बाबा ने चलाई
and
बच्चे उस ज्ञान को बेचना नहीं
Baba had given directions that you should not sell that knowledge,
दुकान पर भी नहीं
not to sell it. No, you should keep
बहुत
it,
मुश्किल थी
burn
इस
it.
ज्ञान को रत्नों को जलाना लेकिन
It was very difficult for them to burn those Murlis, but because Baba's directions were there, so all of them,
उन मुरलियों
those Murlis
में घर पर जाती थी
which used to go, you know, cyclostyle copies, they used to be kept in the house.
दीमक ने खा लिया फिर
So,
बचा नहीं ज्ञान
so those were destroyed. Some were kept, but those also were eaten up by ants, so nothing was left.
पास रही उन्हीं को बाबा ने कहा ये रिवाइज को
So the 5 years Murli pre-69,
रिवाइज होती
those were the Murlis that were left with us. And Baba said that revise these Murlis now.
हुई पॉइंट्स हमारे पास हैं
But there are also some points I have from Dadi's books, which they used to write in their own hand.
में जब आती हैं
And so when I got those books, get hold of those books, then sometimes I add it in between the Murlis.
ओरिजिनल मिलती है तो उसको भी हम लिखते हैं
And if I get an original date of the Murli, then I also write that Murli. Like 3-4 days ago, you listened to the night class of Baba, and I thought that was very nice and entertaining. So
तो ओरिजिनल डेट्स मुझे जो प्राप्त
if I get the original date, then I write the original date as well. But there were very few Murlis which I have got, because those are from the handwritten notes of diaries of other souls,
क्योंकि एक
the originals, jewels.
ओरिजिनल डेट किसी ने इसमें डाली नहीं इसलिए बहुत से प्रश्न भाई बहनों के रहते हैं
And sometimes there are the Murlis which I have, but there are no dates. And when I put this into the Murli, some brothers and sisters says that why don't you write the original dates, because we would like to have the original date. And I would also like to have these original dates. But when I don't get the dates, then I cannot write. So that is why we cannot write the original date.
76 से की, लेकिन बायोडेटा की बात भाई साहब कह रहे थे।
So 76, I started the Murli duty. But about biodata, the brother was asking me. I just add a little few points that when I first came, Madhuban was very small. There was only about 25, 30 and 15, 20 sisters. So it was a group of 50. There were no scientific instruments at that time in Madhuban. The washing of clothes was done by hand. Just as you see in the villages, by the lake, people would stand, and beat the clothes against the stones to clean. So in the Madhuban also, the washing place was like that. We would put them in hot water at night and wash them in the morning. Even the chapatis were made on fire lit by wooden sticks. There was no running water, like hot water was no running hot water, and there was real extreme cold, and there wasn't enough accommodation, which was cold proof. So we used to light fires all around. And then a few brothers had duties early in the morning, Amrit Vela, to heat up the water and give it to the sisters to their rooms. So it wasn't that I only have one department or one brother will have only one department, but we all had to participate in 3, 4 departments or other departments. So I would be doing the Murli, but also I will be doing the washing of clothes and also cooking chapatis. So whatever, even sweeping the floor, cleaning other bits. So we all used to get together, all the brothers, and do the tasks. So performing all the duties, normal day-to-day duties, we also managed our other duties. Now, doing all these things, we have come to a stage when there is one department, Murli department, 6 brothers are doing service. It's not only Murlis, but photocombing, the exchange of letters throughout the world, throughout Bharat. Also, that is classes, and so many other duties we are doing in this Murli department in all the 3 places. Shantivan, Gyansarovar, Pandav Bhavan, and in each area, two brothers are giving service. A total 6 brothers are surrendered in this department. And looking after this department, when the wings were created, I have been giving the rural department, rural development service. So I'm quite busy in that field now. So Baba's service of Murlis, to play with the jewels of knowledge. But now we have the computers. At one time we used to stencil the Murli type them 3 or 4 times. When we had to when we had to print 2,000 to 3,000 Murlis, then one stencil would not be enough to print those Murlis. So now we would have, at that time we would make the same Murli 3 to 4 stencils. But now I type directly Baba's Murlis when Baba speaks them. Even that these classes and all that, I type them. In the times of Baba, there were no typing machine, no tape recorders, no computer, and the sisters took notes. And on the basis of that, the Murlis were prepared. And Ishudadi, Dada Chandrahas, they were taking notes, and they will get together, both of them, and prepare the Murlis. And I still have those Murlis in Sindhi with me.
मुरलियों को तैयार किया।
And from that also I prepared the Murlis.
कुछ साल की मुरलियां अभी टेप में हैं।
And at the same time, the last Murlis of Baba, they are also now on the tape. Because before that, there was no tape recorder.
तो मैं समझता हूँ एक एक मुरली अगर पूरी शब्द बाय शब्द टाइप की जाए तो 8 पेज की 10 पेज की।
The Murlis which we are listening to now, if each and every word is printed, then it will be about 8 pages.
क्लास में समय की सीमा होती है।
Baba's Murli was shortened because there is limit of time in class.
ज़्यादा क्लास नहीं करना चाहते।
And majority of brothers and sisters don't want to sit in class for more than 45 minutes to an hour. So Baba said that as much as can be listened or it can be digested by the students, only keep that much. That's why the Murlis were shortened. So
Can I just ask you, how do you decide
main points were kept?
which bits are kept and which bits are taken out?
किस आधार से आप डिसाइड करते हो कि कौन कौन सी बातें रखें और किस बात को काट देवे?
उसमें कुछ रिपीटेशन को काटा जाता है।
Some repetition is cut
भाषा है
because the Baba's spoken language is such.
चलती है इस रीति से नहीं बात की है।
Baba has not spoken officially in the Sakar Murlis like officially he speaks in the Avyakt Murlis, but in very simple way Baba is speaking to the children.
रिपीट होती है।
And so when he is speaking to the children, so many points are repeated. Sometimes Baba might have spoken something a day earlier, he would repeat the same thing again, and then Baba would say that children, when new children come in front of Baba, Baba has to repeat these words.
इसलिए उस मुरली को उसी आधार से सेलेक्ट किया ताकि कुछ नवीनता हो।
So we select such that there is something newness, and whatever the main points of inculcation are there, the main points Baba wishes the children to understand, these are the points we try to include in the Murli. If the repetition is there over a number of days, then we take that out and keep it in one Murli.
बार-बार वही रिवाइज होती इसलिए अभी उसमें कोई भी
But now those 5 years Murlis are revised again and again, so
समय के अनुसार कुछ शब्दों को जरूर चेंज करना।
we don't do any additions or deletions in it, but according to time, we do change some words to clarify them. Now there are questions that are to be asked,
राज है, बहुत से रहस्य हैं।
but we have to study the Murlis in deep, because in the Murli there is deep significance
एक बहुत सुंदर
filled in those Murlis.
दवाई का काम करती हैं।
All these Murlis work like medicine for all of us,
बहुत भिन्न-भिन्न मानसिक बीमारियां
because human beings have a lot of mental illnesses,
हल बाबा की मुरली में है।
and Baba's Murlis have got the solution to all these illnesses.
तो हमारी जो मानसिक
So if we study the Murli on that, with that understanding, then if ever we have any mental problems, that will be solved through these Murlis.
से कट कर दी है, लेकिन उसके मूल तत्व को ध्यान में रखते हुए मूल पॉइंट्स को
So Murlis have not at all been cut just like that, but keeping the main essence of the Murlis.
एसेंस जो लिखे जाते
And if you see today, we write a question, answer, essence, and all that.
मेन पॉइंट्स को हम
We have the aim that the Murli's main points are highlighted in that essence and the question answer.
Thank you very much, Raju. That was very comprehensive and answered already many of my questions. I'd just like to switch to Sister Jasu, because she is responsible for the Murli in the UK, and we'll look at in a little more depth the process of actually translating Baba's words into English, and then it being translated into many other languages, and see how that works technically, if you like. But I'd just like to ask Sister Jasu, what is your involvement with the Murli, and how did that come about?
I started the Murli translation when I came into Gyan in '83, and whilst I was in Gyan at that time, the Murlis used to be typed from what was translated verbally at the time of reading in class. And Sister Sudesh and Sister Jayanti were the main instruments reading the Murli at that time in English. And so whatever they read in class, that was then transcribed and then typed out and then sent out to the world. And then a time came when it wasn't possible for them to do the Avyakt Murlis like that. And so Sister Manda actually started translating in advance the Avyakt Murlis for the Sunday class when Sister Jayanti or Sister Sudesh would be reading them. So that's the time when the Murli started being translated in advance. Otherwise, it was already what was just read and translated by them at the time of being in front of the students. And so when Sister Manda was translating them, I used to go and stay at the center during the weekends. At that time, I was still at my Lokik home. And sometimes she used to ask me to help her. Sometimes I used to offer to do the Murli myself because I had an interest in translating as such. And so together we would work on the Avyakt Murlis.
Speak.
Going back a step before that, Sister Jayanti often relates the story of how the English Murlis came about in the very early days, because the center started, the Westerners started coming from the 1974 onwards. And at that time when Daddy used to be speaking in the class or they would be here in the Murli, then Jayantiben would actually just write out and it would be projected. And so keeping up with the speed at that time, that was all the sustenance that the Western brothers and sisters received. And then when Dadiji went to Australia the first time, at that time one of the brothers from Australia requested and told Daddy what their problem was and what the sustenance was that they were getting of the Murlis. And when Daddy saw that the amount that they were getting from what Baba is actually speaking, then she really felt sorry for all the brothers and sisters, and then she said that yes, you can start translating the Murlis and sending them out in advance. And so that's when the English Murlis came into the whole system. But then from, that was like when it was read and translated, as I said before. But then when the computers came out, then everyone was thinking that now we have to have the system of all the centers reading the same Murli. Before that, actually, in 1990, Sister Manda used to do the translation until then. From the time when we got the first computer, we started doing them in advance of being read in class. So from 1987 to 1990, Sister Manda used to do the Murlis, and they used to be done in advance, but not sent out until they were read out in the London class. So they would have been okayed by Sister Jayanti and Sister Sudesh. And then after the 5-year cycle had been gone through, from 1994, I think, that's when we started actually sending out the Murlis in advance to all the centers, so that worldwide all the centers that were reading the Murli were reading the same Murli as the one in Madhuban. Because again, Dadi Janki used to be traveling quite a lot in those days, and when she used to be reading the Murli, then if she'd go to a center in Europe, then they would probably be about a month behind with the Murlis from what was read in Madhuban. London itself was, Europe would be 2 months behind, London was 1 month behind. And so then Daddy said we start the system of having the same Murli. And so we then had to catch up and translate. Okay. So then this whole system started, and I took on this job of translating from 1990. That's the time when Sister Manda got involved with the construction of Global Cooperation House. So then Daddy asked me to do the translation. So from that time onwards, I've been translating the Murli. And I remember translating the Avyakt Murlis of the season. In the early days, it used to be like 2 weeks later that you would get the print from Madhuban, and that would be very fresh and interesting for everyone to hear what Baba had said. And say about 1992-93, I think, that time, a sister in Pandavavan, Sister Pankaja, used to actually type on the teleprinter in Roman Hindi what Baba had spoken, and then we would actually type that out into Hindi, and then it would be read out in the class the next day. But now I'm seeing that the Murlis are typed out, as Rajubai said. As soon as Baba finishes, the Murli is ready. In the early days, he actually used to present the Murli to Bapdada that this is your Murli that you've spoken. And so that Murli would go out on the same night. It would be translated into English the same night, and the following day it would be sent out worldwide to all the centers. So that's what I do with the Murlis.
And Sister Jasu is the instrument for this, staying up all night so you get your Murlis. One of the interesting things about the Murli is obviously that it's actually been translated into these different languages. And we understand, not being a Hindi speaker myself, but I do understand that what Baba is speaking is very poetic and it has that sort of flavour and feel to it. I'd like to ask both of you actually, how much do we actually lose on the translation into the other languages of that feel of the Murli? Because we can, of course, easily intellectualize what Baba's saying rather than to enjoy the experience of this feeling that Baba gives us in the Murli.
मैं समझता हूँ कुछ तो जरूर मिस होता ही है
I understand that something would be missed in any case, because Baba's feelings, Baba's words, sometimes they are the words in Urdu language, and sometimes the words in English have deep meanings. Even though the sisters make effort to translate them, but the one word will have different meanings. But the children who are very loving children of Baba, they would understand Baba's feelings and would understand what Baba is saying. Baba says that you understand the language of drishti, you understand the language of vibration. So in that way, you are not missing anything. If you see the real word is different, how much can you clarify through words? But through the language of drishti, the language of Baba's feelings, nothing is missed. And I think that Bharatvasis who understand Hindi, I think you people catch more than those people who understand Hindi. I'm not praising you from top superficially, but it's a very good catching power. The catching power through vibrations, it is the speciality of your intellect. Baba used to say that if you don't know the language, it's okay, but you have to understand the bhav, the motive, the feelings behind it, and which you all have got very good intellect. And on that basis, you have become Babas. You have recognized the Father very well. You have recognized Baba's knowledge. To catch from Baba's drishtis, to catch from Baba's vibrations, and also to catch the feelings of the one who is reading the Murli. So this is a very good, because not each and every human being knows that. So nobody is missing anything. So I feel that you are not missing anything. What do you want to do with the words? In the words, the even meaning can be changed or spoilt. So not to raise questions that, oh, I am missing something or mine is missing through translations. Baba says that those who are my loving children, they will understand. They will also understand the language of the Avyakt land, the angelic world. Over there is no worldly language there. So Baba is Avyakt, and to understand the Avyakt language of the Avyakt world, we don't need the language of this world. So whichever language you know, don't ever think that I'm missing something. With great love from the heart, say Baba and understand the Baba's motives and the feelings behind what he says. Knowledge is very clear. But there are some words in Hindi which cannot be brought into English because the whole meaning will change. But I do understand that the sisters do make full effort to give you the right meaning. When Dada Anand Kishore used to translate, the foreigners didn't like his translation because he used to use a very high language. And since the sisters in London started translating, since then everybody has been liking Baba's Murlis. That is why Baba stopped it being translated from in Bharat and got it translated from London. So there is a great difference between the Murlis which are translated now and which used to be translated earlier. Dada Anand Kishore was very educated in the Holy Yagya, and his letters in English, even the government officials would read them and says, "Who is this person with such high language command, high command in English language?" Because his English was very high. But even he was there, daddies took the decision that London should translate, because whatever translation was going out from Madhuban, it was very high language and people did not enjoy it. And in London, they are not adulterating anything, they are not leaving anything out. And if there is something they don't understand, London asks directly by phoning the meaning and everything, and then they put it into the Murli translation. And if I don't understand, then I talk to Dadi Gulzar. Baba had spoken this word, what is the meaning of it? If that I haven't understood it, so if you clarify it, and Dadi would clarify it through either message or through her own understanding, she would give it. But nowadays the matter, all the things are so clear that these questions don't even arise anymore. Is that okay?
Actually, while we're on that topic, someone did ask a question that in Baba's Murli, Nastamoha, is that the right pronunciation? Nastamoha is translated into attachment, but Nastamoha in the Sanskrit dictionary is translated in various other meanings. They're asking if you could please tell us the exact meaning of what Baba means by this word.
The word is Nashtamoha. There are two words in Sanskrit, Nashta, Smoha, Shruti, Labda. When the word Nashtamoha used in Sanskrit, then they always use this other word, Smriti, Labda. There should be that awareness of, elevated awareness of one Supreme Soul. Up and until there is the attachment not finished with bodily beings, until then there will not be awareness or remembrance of the Supreme Father. So Baba says that finish the attachment, Nashtamoha, finish the attachment. So the other word which comes with it, Baba doesn't use it so often. But in Sanskrit language, it is always used together, that is Smriti Labda. So Baba, when God is speaking to Arjun, up and until you have not finished the attachment, until then you will not be able to kill those people. So you have to finish the attachment and have your intellect connected with me, then only you will be able to kill them. This was the message given to Arjuna on the battlefield. So when Baba speaks the Murli, sometimes Baba speaks the word Smriti Labda, sometimes doesn't. But Baba speaks of finishing of the attachment with the bodily beings.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Jasuben how she approaches this particular situation with the translation, having the ability to speak both English and Hindi. What is your approach? And how do you decide which words take up or translate that meaning effectively?
For me, it's more a job of conveying the feeling rather than actually taking words. On the one hand, I don't want to mix with Baba's words, and so whatever Baba is saying, then I try to use the word that is the literal translation. But in some cases, one Hindi word has so many different English words that are translated into different meanings. And so in that instance, it's a question of trying to feel what Baba is trying to convey in that sentence, and then using the appropriate word for that. And so even in this instance with the Nashtamoha Smriti Labda, I would say that it's the destroyer of attachment. And then yes, I agree with Raju that it is actually a whole phrase. And Baba doesn't always use the whole phrase, but it's just the one. But going back to the earlier question, whether there is something missed in that language translation, of course there is something missed in that, but as Raju said, that Baba actually fills that gap by giving you something in terms of feelings. And so the translation of Baba's Murli into feelings actually fills in the gap of what's missed out by the words.
And of course the wonder of it is that we are all here, yes? So something must be happening. the Sakar Murli is really the bread and butter Murli of the Brahmin family because it covers everything. But I'd just like to ask both Raju Bhai and Jasu Ben a little bit about how it works technically, because as Raju Bhai has explained, the Murli's gone down from 8 pages to a couple of pages, and what is happening now is that we have sometimes Baba saying concise sentences that sometimes have no apparent connection with the following one. I enjoy playing with that because it means that you can see things from different perspectives. But how does that really work when we're actually not getting so much a sense of continuity? I think Dadi Janki recently asked that we paragraph the Sakar Murli, didn't she? And I personally was against that because I felt that it would lose this sense of picking up from each consecutive sentence a different feeling. How do you both feel about that?
साकार बाबा की मुरली में कुछ शब्दों में जंप तो दिखाई देती है।
You can see the jumps in Sakar Baba's Murli because he's the ocean. Even Dadi Janki also, when she conducts classes, sometimes she shares elevated points and sometimes it's lots of stories. So when we take notes, we will leave the stories out. But we try and connect her points from one to the other with which motive did Dadi share the story. But if we start writing each and every story, it will be a long thing and somebody might not want to listen to it.
ऐसे बाबा ने भी कुछ शब्द ऐसे लिए, कई बार कहानियां सुना दी, कोई बच्चों की
Sometimes Baba would also share stories, some child's story, or Baba heard some news and Baba would share that news. But what is his motive behind sharing that news? So we would not, the ones who took the notes would not would not note down the news, but what was the bhav, the motive behind sharing that news, and that's what they would write, and that is why it feels as if like Baba is jumping from the Murli. Like example, Narad, Baba has explained so many times the story. So the ones who took notes didn't write the story because it's a worldly story. So why should we write worldly story? So in very short they would write it down. And so when we listen to it, we think it's a jump. So what is the story of the Pandit? What is the story of Narad? The teachers who are reading the Murli, they will explain what is merged behind that story, you know. But the one who is listening, the one who is writing, they would just write in brackets, example, Narad. Now Baba shared the story, the long story. In scriptures, the story is about 2 pages as to how he got the curse and his face became like that of a monkey and all that. So they would not write the whole story, but they will just say story of Narad. And so it looks like it's a jump. But we have to catch the motive, don't have to go into the language or the story or not to go into the expansion of it, but to go into what Baba is trying to say for my benefit. So to take the juice of the Baba's Murli, don't think that, oh, why is Baba has said that, why has it cut? It looks as if it's cut, it's missing. Like the other day, Dadi's body had this problem of cough again and again. So when I typed, I had to set, because of cough, one of the words was left out. So I had to set it in the Murli. So if somebody listens on the tape that Murli, they will think that Baba or Dadi didn't say this word in the Murli, and here it is there on the written Murli. So, but during the cough, the word was lost. So even in the Sakatis, Baba had lot of cough in the Murli, and Baba used to say that the cough is my auntie. And while Baba was coughing, the Murli word will be missed. And when the cough stopped, then Baba would start the point again. So there was one point that was being spoken, and then after the cough, Baba would start saying another point. And if you look at the notes, you will say that the one who has written has made a mistake. But who has made a mistake? Is it the one up above, the one who is writing, or is it in drama? But what I think this is, but what does Baba try to say? I'll take a few minutes of your times. Try and understand what Baba is trying to say. Then you will not feel that Baba is jumping. You all know everything. Baba asks for 6 things. First thing, the main essence of Baba's teachings is to make the soul pure, because he wishes to take everyone back home by making them equal to himself. And whichever form the soul came on this earth, Satopradhan, totally pure, at the end of Iron Age, the soul should attain that final perfect stage and then go back. So the motive behind Baba's Murlis, whether it is stay in remembrance of Baba, only one Father, no one else, no bodily being should be remembered, think of yourself as the soul and remember me. These types of teachings which Baba revises again and again and again, the motive behind that is that Baba wishes all the children to become free from bodily bondages and the vices, become pure and come back with me. And up and until the children don't become equal to me, they don't become pure, they cannot come back with me. So the first motive behind that is to make the soul complete, pure, and so in connection with that, so many other points are shared by Baba. Secondly, the souls are tied up in a lot of bondages. Baba sometimes gives the example of birds, that the bird catches hold of the branch and then screams and shouts that please free me, free me. So Baba says this, my children, my souls like the birds, they are holding on to various branches. But just by saying my, and I, they have come into these bondages. And because of these bondages, the soul is trapped so much that it cannot free itself and fly. And so it's going round and round in circles in many accounts. So Baba wants the children to leave these limited branches they are holding on to. Baba is detached, and so Baba is making that effort for the children to become free from these branches they are holding on to. You know, sometimes children say to Baba, Baba, so and so has left the body. And for us it seems a big thing. But Baba will say that the soul has left the body. The soul has changed costume. No matter how senior a brother or senior dadi leaves the body and the news are given to Baba, everybody thinks that it's a big thing. But Baba just says, the soul has changed the costume. So Baba is free from bondages, and so he wishes us children to become free from bondages as well. So each and every soul becomes totally free from all the limits, becomes free from bondages, become light. So for that, there are different types of instructions, explanations that come in Baba's Murli. The third, Baba says to us children and desires to see us children free from all the sorrow. staying in the family, performing all the actions, no matter how many the situations come. But my children should become the emperors of the world, which is free from problems and sorrow. It should not be even visible on the sorrow, or the problem should not be visible in the face as well. In the history of Bharat, you know that Indira Gandhi was shot, and at that time there were lots of riots in the country. Even our centers, somebody's shop was under the center, and that was of a Sikh brother, and Hindus opposed the Sikh because it was a Sikh who killed Indira Gandhi, and our center was on the 4th floor, and they lit the shop. They put the shop onto fire, and it reached the center upstairs, and Baba received the news. Baba's center was lit. That's not good. So Baba laughed. Baba said, "Child, whatever happened was good." So naturally there will be questions in the minds of the children that how can it be good? So Baba said that, "Child, do you know how to see goodness in which something bad has happened? You know, loss has been incurred, but in that also there is a benefit merged. You children learned a lesson from this, that how the center of Baba should be an independent center, not about something." Okay. So the government got the refund, and there was good feelings in the hearts of the children. So Baba's new center, ground floor, and on the 4th floor, so many children could not even climb those steps to reach the 4th floor. But Baba is the all-knowing Jani Jananha, the one who knows the 3 aspects of time, Trikaldarshi. And Baba also wants his children to become Trikaldarshi and don't get confused or worried or become full of tension on little things, but become worry-free kings. You have now attained God, and you've attained everything. So Baba, what else do you want? So Baba has this. So the 4th thing is Baba wants to establish the religion of truth. For that Baba has come. And for establishing the religion, our inculcation should be very high. And to establish the religion, Brahma Baba had to tolerate a lot as well. And that's why Baba says, become very firm in your dharnas, and through that the true religion will be established. So that's the 4th aim. 5th, Baba is establishing a kingdom, one kingdom. And for that you want subjects, and they will also be number-wise. They will not be all equal or like each other. So Baba gives a lot of points as to how the kingdom is established. First you have to become the ones who have the right over the kingdom, and then give knowledge to others so that they also can claim the kingdom or become subjects of the new kingdom. And the 6th one is to establish one family. There should be divine family, and there should not be difference like between the kings and the queen and the subjects. So one religion, one kingdom, one family to be established. That's the aim of future and present, that the souls become free from all the bondages, become free from all the limits, and become the worry-free kings. So taking these 6 main points, Baba is teaching us in the Murlis and making us equal to him.
Thank you very much. One of the things that we've been looking at over the last couple of days in a workshop situation is our process or our attitude or perspective towards studying Baba's Murli. and I've been sharing with the group some of the methods and techniques that I have used over the years, and we've been playing around with some ideas. What I'd like to know is how the sisters in the early days approached their study, the daddies, how they studied, what did Baba encourage, and also what is your process of study? How do you listen to the Murli? In what way? How do you work with it? Do you change your processes that you study with, or do you have one particular way of dealing with the Murli? And what is churning? A lot of questions. What is churning? Someone asked yesterday, and I shared something that it's a bit like the cow. But how do you understand where we actually take Baba's words and we turn them into our dharna? How does this process work? How did the daddies do it, and how do you do it?
When I first came to Madhuban in the beginning, before coming to Madhuban, I didn't know anything about the Murlis. Even though there was Murli being read in the house, I had never listened to it. I started listening to the Murlis after coming to Madhuban. That she used to read the Murli, and she used to perform the Gyan dance while reading the Murli. And at that time, a training was given me to make 4 parts of the diary, the notebook. It's 4 sections, and in that you sort out the points according to Gyan, Yoga, Dharana, and Service. So in the beginning, we used to write the points separate like that. Sometimes Baba would speak the whole Murli on Gyan only. So when we take those notes, we used to feel that, oh, there's a lot of treasures. Baba has explained so much. Then sometimes next day he will just speak on yoga, and then on dharana and seva. Sometimes there will be all the 4 subjects in the same Murli. So when we'll again look at the notes, then, oh, today Baba said something very nice about dharana or yoga. Whatever one likes, they will write it down. In the early days, we never used to get Murli in the hand. And now you get Murlis in your hand. You first you read the Murli, then you come to class. In the early days, Dadi used to question before reading the Murli. Dadi would ask a question from the Murli, in any question, and just give answer to this. And then she would make them underline the answers that today's Murli Baba has said this for this question. So first in the early days training to separate them into these four subjects, and then we were told to write notes, questions. So nowadays I'm being told to conduct classes, and when they give me a subject, I think over it, and then I speak about it. And after speaking about it, I get even more points. And so whatever we churn, write it down, and you get more and more points. Baba has said so many things in different ways on one topic. And so if we read the notes or the Murlis, with real interest and in depth, then lots of things would be understood, and you will really enjoy it. I haven't read any worldly books. I haven't read any stories or poems or anything of the world. But whatever Baba has said, like Baba said a couple of days ago, this is the study of engineering, a study of medicine and all that. So this Murli itself is everything. If we study it with great attention, sometimes what happens is while listening to the Murli, the intellect runs out. What do I do personally? After having a shower, I read Baba's Murli, and then after reading, I go for a walk. And because from the Murli, whatever point I like, on my walk I churn on it. And so what did Baba says?
नई नई बातें बाबा की मुरलियों के आधार से आती
And then what the new things will emerge in the mind on the basis of Baba's Murli. Matthew, I can't hear his voice clearly. The volume is falling.
हैं। धारण करना भी सहज हो जाता है, चिंतन करना भी सहज।
Raju Bhai's voice is falling. It's slowing down. No, the volume is falling on my headphones. Hello?
ओके ठीक है इंग्लिश
No, I am translating. उसको बोलो, speak.
हाँ तो बाबा की मुरली को स्टडी कर लेना पहले से उसको
So to study Baba's Murlis in advance, highlight the points and keep them for yourself. And if 2 or 3 points are remembered, then
लिए बाबा ने दादियों ने
think deeply over this. And to,
प्रश्न लगा दिया आज बाबा
to,
ने अगर संगम
to think about it, then put a question for it. That so, like today Baba said, specialities of.
विशेषताओं को हम धारण कर सकते हैं, लाभ ले सकते हैं। तो क्या क्यों कैसे
So we have to ask questions
पर प्रश्न
that
लगाने से
if you put questions on Baba's topic, then you will be able to churn on it deeply. You will go into the expansion of that point. And this is a very good method of stopping the intellect and mind going into waste.
साकार बाबा की पॉइंट्स कभी कभी अनेक टॉपिक्स पर
Saka Baba's points are sometimes on many topics, but Avyakt Baba's Murli is on one special topic.
और ज़्यादा गहराई में जाना है
And if you want to go into great depth, take Avyakt Baba's one point and think deeply on it. And the
वरदान के अंदर इस
main instrument for this is the blessing.
लेकिन चिंतन के लिए बहुत अच्छा है
It's from the Avyakt Murli. It's in short, but it's got good point for churning.
मज़ा भी आएगा व्यर्थ से भी बच जाएगा
And so you'll enjoy Baba's Murli's churning, and also you will become free from waste, and it will be easy to inculcate it as well.
There's a question that you can follow that with from the floor. What does Baba mean by you're the decoration of the Brahmin clan? And the second bit was, what does he mean? Happiness is like the droppings of the crow.
Matthew, his microphone needs to be adjusted or the volume changed by the cabin. Tell him, I can't tell them.
वैसे तो बाबा हम बच्चों को बहुत ऊंचे नशे में सम्मान में स्थित करता है भूषण ये जो पहनते हैं ना आभूषण श्रृंगार
Baba,
तो बाबा कहता है ये ब्राह्मण कुल का श्रृंगार है
you know, in the pictures you've seen that they are wearing those jewelry as the decoration.
जैसे आप सब
And also Baba says that you children are the decorations of the Brahmin family. Baba says that when you come to Madhuban,
के घर का श्रृंगार
when you come to Madhuban,
रौनक बढ़ जाती
the Madhuban looks decorated with double foreign children.
है विशेषताओं को हमारी महिमा को उजागर करता है बताता है ये मेरे बच्चे जो हैं सारी दुनिया के अंदर
Baba praises the children, and Baba
सजावट है इसकी अगर ये ना हो तो सजावट
Baba makes you realize that you are the decorations of the Brahmin clan, of Baba's home, Baba's neck. You are the decoration. That is why Baba says Brahman Kulbhushan.
कहता है कि सुख कांग विष्टा समान है
And the other one which Baba says that sannyasis say that the happiness is like that of a droppings of a crow.
सन्यासियों को वैराग्य आया तब तो त्याग किया
It is to give to create that disinterest within the children of the towards the vices, because the sannyasis had that disinterest towards the vices, so they left home. But we are living in the home.
विष्टा के अंदर जाकर के सुख महसूस करता है गंगा
Like a crow goes into the dirt and then experiences that happiness in it. So Baba says that that happiness of this world, iron-aged world, is like that. So sannyasis also used to say that what is the happiness of the vices? It's only temporary. It's not forever. So Baba is also saying that to indulge into vices is happiness of a little time, but forever sorrow and suffering.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go into a little bit of a controversial area, a bit of spice here, because we are now in the age of internet access, and all of us have access to the internet, and we're also seeing that there is some things coming on the internet that aren't exactly good towards the Brahma Kumaris, if you like to put it that way, and some of these quotes are actually from Baba's Murlis. And the question that I was given was that some of these things that they're mentioning, and one in particular was, why are the 1969 Murlis edited out the references to Baba's mentioning the 1976 destruction? There are a number of articles like this, and as we are now fully aware that we have to be transparent in the Brahmin family, I'd just like to ask you how you feel about this and what we are doing about it.
क्या है कि ये बातें जो बाबा की निकाली गई, जैसे 76 के विनाश की बात है, जरूर हमने भी पढ़ी और उसी आधार से मैं सरेंडर हूँ.
76, destruction of 76, it was in Baba's Murlis, and when I heard that, that is when I came into knowledge. So I surrendered myself in that year, and in that also there was benefit merged in it for me. And the significance behind was, it's a big story, long story, but I will only share the essence in short. In 76, Baba went to Delhi. Baba saw a place near Rajuri Garden. Baba was walking around, and Baba saw that place and said to the child that, "Child, go and speak to the government to give this to Baba." It was in a main place. So if they give that place to Baba, then Baba in 10 years will create a new world. So Baba spoke the Murli. That if the government gives that place to Baba, then the 76, the destruction will take place. So, they didn't know the story in context with it, and so Baba's children who heard those versions, they got confused. We didn't get that place. We bought it, but we couldn't get the place because there was some, obstruction placed by the government. So at that time, Baba had spoken on that context that if the government gives us help, and we gave such message to so many souls from this place that hundreds of thousands of souls will get message. So, but at that time we didn't get the place, so not the world didn't get the message. So many children didn't get born. So the same. So the destruction did not take place, but some transformation did take place. Now, in same sort of thing, Baba would say, what would you say? Would you laugh? Would you ask questions? Sometimes, like if you look at Baba says about the population 50 billion. Now Baba says 66 billion. Now if I write the same figure, 55 billion, the people in the world who read it will be laughing. So if I have to put this 55 billion, I should give the original date of the Murli. At that time, that the figure was correct, but at present, I cannot give that figure. So now, according to the present situation, when after every 5 years the Murli is.
उस समय की आबादी का जो हिसाब था वो बाबा ने बोला
So when we revise the 5 years Murli again, then we change according to the current situation. So some editing we have to do.
बाबा ने बहुत सारे ऐसे ऐसे शब्द प्रयोग
Sometimes, like for sannyasis, Baba has used certain words, like sannyasis are like this or like this. Now the same sannyasis come into the Baba's gathering. They are Baba's children, and if they listen to the same words, they will say, how can God say such a thing? I am His child.
ज्ञान दे करके बच्चे इनमें फंसे हुए हो यही
But Baba has given us the knowledge of the scriptures that children you are entangled into this. Baba said that they consider themselves as God, they make others worship them. It's a sin. So if we keep these words in the Murli, what will happen? They will fight and they will say, how can you write this? How can God say such things,
उनसे निवृत्त कराने के लिए
Baba told us in the Murli so that we do not go into the path of renunciation and we don't get caught up in that path of the sannyasis. But now it's not the time to repeat those things. If it was the same time, Avyakt Baba would speak those words, but he doesn't speak those words. So when we revise the Murlis, we also pay attention to the time and the situations as to what inspirations they give. If we do not revise the Murlis according to the situations and the times, then people will take us wrongly. They'll take the wrong meanings.
निमित्त बनाया और निमित्त बनी हुई दादियाँ हमें कहती हैं समय अनुसार ये बात नहीं।
And then dadis, who are the instruments for these Murlis, when they give us directions or suggestions that according to the times we should not have such things in the Murli, then according to that we change it. But the ones, the Baba's versions, the great versions, in which there are our principles, the truth of the knowledge, like the 5,000-year cycle, rebirth, the soul is eternal, immortal, has come from Supreme Abode. None of these we have changed, edited, cut, or anything. But only those things we have edited, which would, otherwise would create revolt in the society and all that. And that is also through Baba's Srimad and inspirations of the Dadis. Our principles are the same, our knowledge is the same, our beliefs are the same, and our dharana is the same, but it is only the matters which will cause a revolution in the world otherwise.
Well, I'm afraid we've run out of time. And we must thank Raju Bhai very much for all he shared, because he's actually covered almost 90% of my questions. So a big hand for Raju Bhai. Wonderful insight into what goes on behind the scenes of Baba's Murli, and also big thanks to Jasu Ben, who's doing wonderful work for all of us double foreigners in providing us with those Murlis.